In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the import orders tool to import orders and associate them with a campaign. Now, I'm not going to show you how to create a campaign. I'm not really going to talk too much about how to go through that process. If you need to know how to do that, then there's a video on creating a campaign. So just do a search in the e-learning section for a campaign, and you'll be able to see that video. But I will talk in general about what a campaign is. A campaign is a set of rules that are defined regarding what items people are going to receive on their order. So you can create a campaign and say, this campaign is comprised of this item or these items at this price level that are going to be shipping with this ship method. And you can have a spreadsheet of 150 names that you import into Orderwave using the import order tool and associate them with that campaign. So everyone will get the same item with the same shipping method, and you can import the orders without having to type them in manually. So let's start off by moving over to Microsoft Excel. Let's say you have a list of 150 names in Microsoft Excel and you want to import them in. For my demo here, I'm only going to start off. I'm only going to use the three names that I have. You can see rows 2, 3, and 4 are my records, and I've got my first row, which is my heading. So column A is first name, column B is last name, and so forth. The first thing you need to do is you need to save this spreadsheet in a CSV format or a tab delimited format. So I'm just going to go here to Excel and I'm going to say save as, and I'm going to choose other formats, and I'm going to save this as a CSV format. Now your version of Excel might be slightly different than mine if you're using a different version, but it follows the same principles for how you save the data and files. So I'm just going to say I'm going to save this as a CSV format. I already have it on there. That's it's been saved, so I'm just going to say yes, I want to replace it. And Excel will prompt me and tell me that if by doing this, if I have multiple sheets, it's not going to save the multiple sheets, and also give me another message that says, are you sure you want to keep it in this format? And I'll just say yes. So now I have my data that's saved in a CSV format on my hard drive. So I'm going to switch back over to Orderwave. To access the import order tool, I'm going to go over to my Orderwave Explorer and click on Tools. And I'm going to come over here to import orders, and you can see a new tab opens up with upload orders tool, and it is asking me for the file name. So I can click here on browse, and I can come over to the file that I just saved as a CSV and double click on it, and you can see that it has my path listed in there. So it's asking me now what type of file it is. Is it a CSV file? Is it a tab delimited file? And that's why I mentioned that you need to save it in one of those two formats. So I'm going to leave it as CSV since that's what we saved it as. And it's asking me for what sort of file endings the file has. I'm going to leave this defaulted to Windows. If you're on a PC, then you would just leave it defaulted to Windows. If you're using a Mac with an older version operating system, then you say Mac OS 9 or earlier. And if you're using a Unix or Linux-based machine, then that's what you would specify. But most people are on PCs, so that's what we default the file endings to. And then here it's asking me, do I want to use a campaign code for my file? If in my spreadsheet I had a campaign code, I can use the campaign code that's in my spreadsheet. So if I've got orders, those 150 orders, let's say some of them might have one campaign, some of them might use another campaign. If I have them set up that way, then I'd probably want to use the campaign code that's in the spreadsheet, but I'd have to add that to the spreadsheet. Going back to our spreadsheet, you can see it's pretty basic. I don't have a campaign code in here. I just have first name, last address, city, state, zip, phone, and email. So in this particular case, I'm going to tell the system that I do not want to use a campaign code for my spreadsheet because I don't have one. I'm going to use one that's already been pre-created. And by just clicking on the menu, it'll show you all the different campaign codes that you already have created in the system. So I'm going to choose this camp 1, which is a test one that we created. And it gives you the option of either running it as a test or running it and really importing the order. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell it to run and really import the orders. And I'm going to click on this load file button. Now once I do that, a new button comes up and it says open file viewer to continue import. So I'm going to click on that. And what that does is that opens up a brand new window for me. This new window is a window where you actually do your file mapping. This is where you're mapping the fields that are on your spreadsheet or the CSV file to where you want them to go into Orderwave. And you've got some tips in here of how you can do different things. One of the tips that I want to point out is it's saying if your file only contains one address, then use the billing address. So you can actually have a spreadsheet that has a billing address separate from a shipping address, and you can map the billing address to the billing address and the shipping address to the shipping address. But in this case, my simple spreadsheet only had one address, so I'm going to leave it mapped the way it is. So here it is. The system will try to match up what it thinks it needs to match up, and it gives you the ability of changing it. In this case, it's matching up first name correctly. So you can see here, first name is this column. It's matching last name correctly. It's matching the address 1 correctly, the city correctly, and the state correctly. It's also matching the zip code correctly, but here for phone number it shows campaign code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll over a little bit, and I'm going to change this campaign code, and I'm going to change that to phone number because that's really what it is. And I'm going to save that. And here under account number, it looks like that I'm going to change that to credit card number, or rather email address, excuse me. Now one thing I want to note is that the system will remember your last setting. So if you import a file and you keep the files consistent, it's going to remember these headings based on what you last imported. So that's, just to make it easier for you to go through. And all these other ones, I'm just going to go ahead and you can see that says credit card expiration month. This view, as you can see, kind of gives you a pretty extensive list of the different things that you can map to. I'm just going to map these to nothing so that there's no confusion. I'm going to save these here and map these few to nothing. The ones that have column numbers you don't have to worry about, so I'm just going to leave those blank. And I'm going to go ahead and just review everything. Okay, this column's my first name, this is my last name, my address 1, city, state, zip, phone number, and my email address. And I guess I'll just change this to email billing. It looks like I made it email shipping. So let me change that. Okay, now I'm ready to move on to my next step. So I'm going to click on to next step. You also have this clear my column, so if you wanted to start over and just map everything from scratch, you can easily do that just by clicking clear my columns. But here I'm going to go to step 2. Now in step 2, one of the things that you can see, it prompts me with a list of different things. The first thing is it's saying, should I ignore the first line in my file because is it a file header? And I'm going to put a check mark on there and say yes, because this is the header. It's not really a record. We're not shipping to that. So I'm going to say ignore the first line of my file. The second thing is it's saying, should I use the billing address as the shipping address as well? And I'm going to say yes, because I'm only putting one address in there. And the last option that it's asking is, do we need to charge these orders before they're released, or are they ready to ship? And I'm going to say these orders are ready to ship. So I'm going to put a little bubble in there, and then I'm going to click on import these orders. The system goes through and it starts importing the orders. You can see an import status, and then once the order is imported, you'll see a 100% status. You'll see the import code along with any messages associated with it. And if there are any errors, you can click on this errors, and you'll see the errors that appear here. Also, when you do have errors, you're going to have the errors listed in there. You'll have the ability of fixing the errors on the screen, and then you can actually re-import those orders that had errors if you do happen to have any. So now that that my orders are imported, I can actually close this box up, and now I can go over to orders, and I can view orders, and I should have under today's orders those 3 orders that were generated and imported into the system associated with that campaign. So I'm going to scroll down because there's several orders in the system, and here's my 3 orders. You can switching back to my spreadsheet, you can see that I used 3 different addresses, including the 1234 Any Street and the ABC Computer Way. And going back to Orderwave, here are my orders that have been imported. So I'm going to open one of these just to look at it, look at the detail of it, and you could see that it's got my bill to and ship to the same location, and I've got my product, which has been mapped to it because this is the product that was in the campaign. Once again, if you want to know how to set up a campaign, it's very easy to do. Just review the campaign video. So that's all there is to it. That's all you need to do to import orders into Orderwave using the import order utility.